All right, guys. Welcome to the first episode of the Jet Fuel Can't Melt Steel Beams podcast. This is a show where we talk conspiracy theories and I interview people. I'm the host of your show, Michael Mooney. So I just wanted to open up the first episode by talking about what the show is and what the goals of the show are. So it's my belief that conspiracy theories often obscure a larger truth. Sometimes they're true-ish and stem from a lack of public trust. And I think it's important to talk about that lack of public trust. I think conspiracy theories also very much explain the moment we're in. I think it's one of the currencies that are used by both political parties at this point. And for a personal touch, I definitely believed in conspiracy theories quite a lot through a large amount of, just experiences over the 2020s, especially, how we dealt with COVID, seeing a first Trump administration, then a Biden one, and then another Trump. A lot of that has kind of melted away. And I think that it can melt away for a lot of other people too. I don't want to place a value judgment on conspiracy theories, but I just think largely they are very unhelpful. So the structure of the show, we'll always start off with a monologue after we do a little housekeeping like we are right now. And then after that, we'll have an interview with someone who kind of illuminates something about what I'm talking about. And then lastly, we'll do some segments at the end. Some segments like sometimes we'll do a song about the topic written by AI, performed by either me or a friend. Or we might do something like Match That Political Belief, where we match quotes from different politicians to the politician themselves. And we'll end each week's episode with 5 facts that, flew under the radar and are more conspiracy theory land than not from the week. Every episode's gonna be based on at least one book, which I'll shout out in the show notes of each episode. And that just makes it so that each episode feels researched and that you guys know where I'm coming from. And there are some original songs of mine shamelessly sprinkled throughout, as intros and outros for things. So if you guys do want to look me up, I do make rap music and I am on Spotify and all the other, pertinent platforms. You can send the wildest conspiracy theory that you believe in to info@jetfuelcan'tmeltsteelbeams.com and we might read it on a future show. Thank you guys for listening and enjoy the Jet Fuel Can't Melt Steel Beams podcast.
This is the age of misinformation, get information. No homosexuals, Democrats, or immigrants in your nation. I gotta think about anything else. I try to cope, but it's bad for my health. I don't even think that anything helps. This is the most paranoid that I've felt. NASA astronauts Suni Williams and Butch Wilmore departed for the International Space Station on June 5th, 2024, on what was supposed to be a short stay to test Boeing's Starliner capsule, formerly known as CST-100. However, as they approached the ISS, Starliner began to malfunction. The capsule started experiencing helium leaks and problems with its thrusters so that, by the time Suni and Butch stepped foot off the CST-100, they were completely stranded. It didn't help ease public anxiety that NASA's first announcement of a return date in July or August of that year was continually postponed, first to September, then February, and finally March of 2025. The Biden administration's quiet posturing led many to believe Suni and Butch's return just wasn't a priority, or, even worse, that the administration lacked the ability to rescue them at all. The pair began to be referred to as stranded astronauts, a concept that seemingly had no parallels in American history. After transitioning back to the presidency, on January 28, 2025, President Trump posted on X asking SpaceX CEO and chief engineer Elon Musk to go get the stranded duo. Musk immediately replied in the affirmative, and in a series of comments made between then and March, Musk insinuated that former President Biden had left Suni and Butch in space for political reasons, so as not to attract bad press during an election year. He even claimed that he unsuccessfully lobbied the administration to bring them back much sooner. The Crew Dragon capsule, designed by SpaceX, returned the now famous duo back to Earth on March 18, 2025. Suni and Butch were immediately transported to the hospital, where they were given clean bills of health after a 9-month stay on the International Space Station. The nation finally breathed a collective sigh of relief, but not before asking themselves what it meant to have a government that stranded them there in the first place. While in space, many wondered if the decay of our institutions and public life had really hit such a crescendo that we simply couldn't pull the return off. Now that they had returned, another question reared its head. Did Biden really blow off Elon Musk's offer? And if so, what did that mean for an America that was already slowly losing grip on its hegemonic status? The helium leak that the CST-100 Starliner capsule was experiencing started around takeoff. Starliner still performed as expected until Suni and Butch approached the ISS, when the thrusters also started to fail. The pair were forced to manually dock the capsule, an impressive and dangerous feat considering the novelty of Starliner. After CST-100 docked, NASA made the call to not bring Suni and Butch home on Boeing's flagship capsule, infuriating some of the people from Boeing. Screaming contests over the phone ensued. NASA officials were resolute. An unsafe return looked bad for NASA, not just Boeing, and given Boeing's recently deceased whistleblowers and lack of safety culture, NASA just couldn't sit by. This, as Alaska Airlines flight doors are being ripped off and line workers were found to be using dish soap instead of industrial lube. In other words, part of the final decision to send Starliner back to Earth empty came down to the same loss and trust the public was simultaneously going through with the plane manufacturing giant. In truth, NASA and Boeing remain the two major decision makers during the quote-unquote stranding of Suni and Butch. President Biden himself had little to no impact on what was unfolding on the ISS. The decision to use SpaceX's Crew Dragon capsule for the return trip was made early on by NASA, and for good reason. It was the only option available other than relying on Russia's Soyuz 1 program since the space shuttle was decommissioned in 2011. In fact, the United States had to solely rely on Russia from 2011 until 2020 when the Crew Dragon was completed. The testing of Starliner was supposed to produce a third reliable way. The routine pushback of Suni and Butch's return date was largely due to scheduling issues, and to give time for SpaceX to put new custom seats in the capsule before its journey. There was already a Crew Dragon mission scheduled for March 2025, allowing for NASA to simply do a crew swap, limiting the cost and risk of the mission. NASA announced its intentions to use the Crew Dragon the following year by August 2024, meaning that SpaceX had been working with NASA well before Musk's comments on the Biden administration. No records of a talk between Musk and Biden on the stranded astronauts has ever been produced, and it seems unlikely that Musk would have been unaware of his company's already guaranteed role in bringing the pair back. So how did we get here? There have been several acknowledged mishaps in space since humanity's push towards spaceflight, both for the United States and the USSR. On a 1965 spacewalk, USSR cosmonaut Alexei Leonov's suit ballooned up to such a large size he had trouble re-entering the Vokshad 2. The first Apollo spacecraft launch killed 3 when a fire broke out on the launch pad, and the Soyuz 1 killed a cosmonaut in April 1967 when his parachute became entangled. The Challenger and Columbia tragedies of 1986 and 2003 respectively killed 7 astronauts each, the last one bringing into focus NASA's safety culture, where repeated warnings and non-fatal incidents had been inadequately addressed. In fact, Suni and Butch aren't even the only example of astronauts being quote-unquote stranded aboard the ISS. American astronaut Frank Rubio's stay aboard the ISS was unexpectedly extended in December 2022 when the Soyuz 1 capsule bringing him there sprung a coolant leak. Frank and his Russian cosmonaut crew were hit by space debris on their way up to the ISS, and their stay was extended by half a year. The Soyuz capsule was not produced by an American company, however, and the incident had less to say about the capabilities of the United States than the Suni and Butch incident did. Our political story, however, starts in the 1980s, during a period in which the West, embracing free market ideologies, accelerated the commercialization of space and all the equipment we needed to get there. Space travel fell into the hands of private companies as the USSR slowly stumbled out of existence. Boeing, an American success story and corporate giant, continued to grow and manufacture new types of planes, becoming embroiled in private defense contracts and expanding into space technologies by this time. This privatization, along with the Columbia tragedy and the decommissioning of the space shuttle, eventually leads us to the Obama administration where, in 2014, NASA awarded contracts to just 2 companies to design capsules for dependable travel to the International Space Station. Those companies were Boeing and SpaceX. In this way, the Obama administration wanted to stop relying on Russia for travel to the ISS. SpaceX had its first successful test of an unmanned Crew Dragon capsule in March of 2019, followed up by its first crewed mission by May 2020. This was the first trip NASA was able to take to the ISS on its own since 2011. This would be a much faster turnaround for SpaceX when we compare it to the timeline of Starliner. One competitive advantage SpaceX had was that the company had already been sending supplies to the ISS since 2010 in its Dragon capsules, which provided an excellent starting point for the Crew Dragon's development. And how is Boeing spending most of their time, at least from a PR standpoint, between the completion of the Crew Dragon and the launch of Starliner? Major trouble for the classic American company started when two separate Boeing 737 MAXs crashed in 2019, resulting in major investigations and a public lashing on Capitol Hill for Boeing CEO Dennis Muilenburg. Boeing was forced to completely ground the 737 MAX after all was said and done. The Alaska Airlines incident in January 2024, where a plane door came off mid-flight, didn't exactly boost Boeing's trust with the public, which was followed up by a string of nationally reported malfunctions and in-flight incidents. Finally, the deaths of not just one, but two Boeing whistleblowers in 2024 left many in America feeling straight up suspicious, fueling countless conspiracy theories. While SpaceX is a venture capital firm with a serious culture of engineering, Boeing is a publicly traded company subject to the whims of quarterly financial reports and subsequent stock price fluctuations. It has been reported that Boeing has a culture much more centered around the stock price, paying their shareholder dividends, and engaging in stock buybacks, a practice that wasn't even legally streamlined until the Reagan administration. Many of Boeing's most suspect decisions are therefore a direct reflection of what their primary focus truly is. Why does it matter? Why did we strand 2 astronauts on the International Space Station for 9 months? Our publicly traded companies focus more on the stock price than any actual mission at hand, or any goal that would benefit a group of people larger than their stockholders. It might even be fine if the stock market reflected actual value. Instead, many of the gains in price are reflective of things like mergers, speculation, and even Reddit threads. We can't do things like space travel when our main priority is continually boiling society down to a single number. China's jostling for superpower status has also become one of the central themes of the 2020s. China has had success in de-incentivizing the finance industry through moving away from things like speculation and shadow banking as part of its recent 5-year plan. In many ways, China's approach is a stark contrast to America's, a place where airline companies can take government bailout money and then turn around and buy their own stocks back with it, artificially inflating the price. China is committed to using government strength to force financial markets to reflect the actual value in the economy. Shortly after NASA's decision to not bring Suni and Butch home on Boeing's Starliner, CST-100 successfully descended back to Earth with no crew inside. It is impossible to know if the duo would have survived Starliner's descent, but the intact landing of the uncrewed capsule was probably a good sign. Boeing's loss in public trust prevents us from ever knowing, much like how the growing credibility gap with our political leaders prevents us from being able to believe a word they say. So no, the Biden administration didn't strand 2 astronauts on the ISS. Financialization and our culture of incessantly needing to raise the stock price did that. And when we let simple conspiracies, or even lies like the one Elon Musk told rule the day, we lack the ability to pull the right levers to fix the problem.
All right, guys, I'm here with my friend Connie Bolaño. We work together as Cabana hosts, but you used to have a different job, right? Do you want to let us know what that other job was?
Yeah, so I was a customer service, sales and support representative for Southwest Airlines. So I handled reservations, cancellations, rebookings, hotels, rental cars, pretty much all of it.
Whole 9 yards. I like it. All right, so my first question to you, Connie, is last year when the Alaska Airlines flight lost its door mid-air and 2 whistleblowers wound up dead, did any of your customers mention it? Was that something that they talked about, or?
Yeah, anytime there was any issues in the airline industry, there was always panic with the public. Even if it wasn't our airline, you always had people calling, frantic about certain situations they would have those conversations. They would ask what type of planes we had, make sure it didn't line up and be the same type of plane that had the issues.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Was it a lot of people, do you feel like, or?
I would say 50%, at least 50% or more.
Wow. That is actually, yeah. So during that time, were you given any instructions on how to deal with that, or like, was it acknowledged?
I mean, in that type of industry, you're limited to what you can and cannot say.
Okay.
So when certain situations arise, we are scripted. So corporate will drop down a script and they will tell you what to say if a customer calls in, because legally we can't have those discussions.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so we do have a script given to us every morning on how to address it and what we can and cannot say.
Interesting. Okay. Okay. So here's kind of a deeper question then. Do you think that there's any like cost or impact to Southwest when incidents happen, like the one with Boeing?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. What would you say is like the biggest impact?
Well, I mean, the biggest like cost impact for Southwest, the biggest impact with Southwest was the MAX 8.
Okay.
That issue, because majority of our fleet was falling within that line.
Oof. Yeah.
People didn't want to fly on it, so people would call proactively just to find out what plane it was, and if it was a MAX plane, we had to reschedule, rebook, move them to a different type of plane.
Yeah.
Like a 700 series. So that was, I would say, the most costly.
Do you feel like, in general, the flying experience has like deteriorated in the 2020s?
In the yeah.
Okay.
I would say it deteriorated in the 2020s only because of COVID first. After COVID, people were like panicking just to fly, and people even sneezed on a plane. They would freak out. You know, they became very like germophobic. When they go on planes, they wanted to clean everything. You know, they didn't want anything that somebody else touched. Like there was a lot of paranoia right after COVID. And then, of course, with all the incidents that had happened, with, you know, the doors flying off, and Southwest had the issue with the propeller blade breaking off and hitting the window.
Yes.
And, you know, and then you were having all these ones that were falling out of the sky and crashing, you know, overseas. And then you were there was just so many issues. Then you were having the Boeing issues, you know, with the issues that Boeing had with their planes.
Yeah.
So overall, I believe that, yes, it took a massive decline as far as how much people travel.
Yeah.
Majority of the people would prefer to actually rent cars and drive the distance versus flying.
Oh, and they've expressed that too. Like,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think that's something that people might expect, but, you know, it's just interesting, like hearing kind of confirmation from that. Has working for an airline made you more or less afraid of flying, or none of the above?
It didn't bother me.
Okay.
I mean, I live on an island. I'm raised on an island, so you have to get on a plane to fly. So I'm used to flying.
Yeah.
Of course, there's always going to be risk with flying, but it's not something that ever hurt me. But no, working for an airline actually only made me fly more.
Oh, that
because of the benefits of
that
being
makes
able
sense.
to.
Yeah. That's cool. All right, last one. Are you ready for this? So this is one that I'm going to be asking everybody throughout the series, but do you have any conspiracy theories that you want to share with us about Boeing, Southwest, Spaceflight, or just like literally anything else?
No, I mean, I don't think there's any conspiracies. I mean, there is some things that my opinion that I don't agree with.
Gotcha.
For example, Boeing, you know, has taken some of the work to China and built a warehouse in China where they're building our planes over there now. And everybody knows that the parts are cheaper in China for a reason, which kind of explains why maybe we're having a lot more issues with the Boeing planes now, being that the plant is in China and they're building these planes in China now instead of building them on US soil where it's monitored with quality product and it's built a certain way. I just feel like that's probably the main reason on why we're having these issues with Boeing planes now.
Yeah.
They're being built with cheap, you know, labor and cheap products now.
That's actually extremely informative.
You know, so that's my opinion on that one. And then at Southwest, you know, Southwest unfortunately is collateral damage for just like many other companies, you know. The owner, Herb Keller, built the company a certain way. People were so proud and committed to that company. And so after COVID, during COVID, you know, Southwest for over 50 years never laid off their workers. There was never, ever a layoff or a furlough. And during COVID, we actually borrowed money to prevent layoffs.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we borrowed money from the wrong people. And that group ended up becoming they call it an activist investment group.
Okay.
So pretty much they buy the companies, they strip it down, they break it apart. And
that sounds very financialization culture that actually ties in. Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's what they did. And, you know, completely destroyed everything that made set Southwest apart. You know, charging for bags now, assigned seating now, you know, first time ever laying off people, you know, and it wasn't small. It was like 1,700, 1,800 people.
Oof.
You know, it was just, you know, unfortunately, like if you leave things alone, if it was lasting 50 years, there's something that's working.
Yeah.
You know, but then you come in and you change it. And, you know, so I hear people's comments now about the airline. It's not the airline it used to be. It's becoming just the same as everybody else's, you know, airline.
I've heard that feedback quite a lot,
you know,
actually.
So
yeah.
it's
Southwest was my favorite to fly, for sure.
What set us apart is now, you know, it's not there anymore. Like the no assigned seatings, the free bags, everything that set us apart. And now we're doing everything that the other airlines do.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, but other than that, no.
Well,
no conspiracy.
That ties in very well, Connie, I will say. I'm very happy to sit down with you and, you know, talk through these. But anything else you want to say? Or
not at all.
You have been an absolute treat. Thank you so much, Connie.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Lying awake at night, all of a sudden all my anxiety started taking flight. Try to get grounded, head in the clouds, there isn't a plane in sight. It's really me, myself, my demons, and all the skeletons they invite.
The book I read to start researching for this week's episode was Spaceflight by Michael Neufeld, as part of the MIT Press Essential Knowledge series. For this segment, I'll be sharing 3 facts from the book that had nothing to do with Boeing or the privatization of space. Number 1. People believed rockets would need air to push against, and that they couldn't travel through a vacuum. Popular science publications in the early 1900s ridiculed scientists that believed in rocket travel. Another kooky belief at the time was that the universe was primarily composed of ice. Number 2. Dominance in space meant hegemony. The United States came out of the Cold War with the most satellites by far, which translated to the ability to create a surveillance state over the whole world. This, in combination with the moon landing, leadership in Mars exploration, the ISS, and other massive feats, has partly defined what American exceptionalism means in the 20th and 21st centuries. And number 3, the UFO and extraterrestrial subculture, birthed in the 40s and 50s, was primarily obsessed with Martians at first. However, after multiple flybys and rovers sent to the planet, it started to look like an advanced civilization of aliens was far-fetched. This is when you see the shift in alien culture, especially movies and books, from Mars to interstellar travel. Here's a fun one we'll do pretty often on the Jet Fuel Can't Melt Steel Beams podcast. I asked ChatGPT to write me a rap song about the week's geopolitical topic, and then I, or a guest, will record it. ChatGPT calls this week's song 0G Drill, performed by yours truly. Enjoy.
Months up, they stuck, no cap. Sunni and Butch in the space house trap. Starliner parked like a liftoff app. Crew dragging beef, Elon ready to snap. Float through walls with a juice box drip. 0G flex like a spacewalk sip. Tweet from the void with a Wi-Fi slip. Space ain't light, but the bar still hit. Suit look fresh like designer tech. Butch float past with a notebook check. Sunni and the cam got a earth and deck. Starliner bugging like Windows crash. Panels don't vibe but they still won't dash. Musk online with a meme and stash. Scrap crew dragging, man that's rash. Float on my snacks, can't spill this juice. Tortilla wraps cause the crumb's too loose. NASA got rules but the crew let loose. Still harder than the ops when the thrusters boost. Stuck in maneuvers, line that port. ISS fam like a space full court. Astronaut jokes keep the mission short. 9 months locked but they still hold fort. 9 months up, they stuck, no cap. Sunni and Butch in the space house trap. Starliner parked like a liftoff app. Crew Crew dragging beef, Elon ready to snap. Float through halls with a juice box drip. Zero G flex like a spacewalk sip. Tweet from the void with a Wi-Fi slip. Space ain't light, but the bar still hit.
Turned into a 9-month plus mission.
We came up prepared to stay long, even though we planned to stay short. That's what we do in human spaceflight.
Only 5 NASA astronauts have ever spent more consecutive days in orbit than these two.
Toilet in space, that's a whole new flight. Vacuum seat, better aim it right. One wrong move and it's messy night. Orbits drill, but the beef feel petty. Musk got smoke on a live stream ready. Boeing got nerves, but they keep it steady. Meanwhile, Earth's still eating spaghetti. Spinning the module, space drill bop. 9 months deep and the vibe won't stop. Sunni drop bars, let the haters flop. Butch float past like past that mop. Aliens watch from a side stage row. Space got fans that we don't quite know. Zero G TikTok views so slow, but the Wi-Fi lag let the live stream blow. 9 months up, they stuck, no cap. Sunni and Butch in the space house trap. Starliner parked like a lift-off app. Crew dragging beef, Elon ready to snap. Float through walls with a juice box drip. Zero G flex like a spacewalk sip. Tweet from the void with a Wi-Fi slip. Space ain't light, but the bar still hit.
It's time for our 5 facts of the week that you might have missed, October 6th through the 10th edition. Number 1. A recent report found that 25 of Trump's 37 Senate-confirmed nominees for the Department of Energy, Department of the Interior, and the EPA had ties to polluting industries. Number 2. A private poll by the Global Strategy Group showed that while 89% of voters want their Congress member to take steps to keep them safe, only 38% trusted Democrats to do so over Republicans. Number 3. A study published in the Journal of the Association Environmental and Resource Economists showed that power plants may emit more pollution during government shutdowns. We are currently on day 11 of the latest one. Number 4. China was found to have substantial investments in SpaceX, which, of course, is a vital U.S. defense contractor. And number 5. Since the show's produced in Las Vegas, I'll usually throw in a Vegas-related one. And this week, the Elon Musk's Boring Company was accused of over 800 environmental violations for their construction of the Vegas Tesla tunnels, which are horribly behind schedule to begin with. Thank you again for listening to the Jet Fuel Can't Melt Steel Beams podcast. I hope you enjoyed the first episode, and as always, you can send any wild conspiracy theories you believe in to info@jetfuelcan'tmeltsteelbeams.com, and we might read it on a future episode. Until next time, I'm your host, Michael Mooney.